What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of the Forgotten Race Review. Today, at long last, at the request of Shadow of the Mask, we're cracking open Dreams of the Yellow King, and we're going to talk about the being of Ib, a race that actually I didn't even know existed until it was requested right here on the channel, which is great because the more creepy, spooky, eldritch horror monsters I can play in my Pathfinder games, the better, right? Yeah, of course. Anywho, if you guys are liking what you're seeing, remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you've got any requests, throw them in the comments. And as always, patronage is the #1 way to support this channel, and the new patrons just keep rolling right in. Today, this episode of the Forgotten Race Review was brought to you in part by Wayne Stubblefield. Wayne, thanks so much for your help, my friend. Check your Patreon for your Discord invite. Now, let's dive in. So if one were to crack open the doom that came to Sarnath, they would find a race of semi-aquatic anthropomorphic creatures that lived in a city called Ib in the land of Minar, those of course being the beings of Ib. This city was a great stone city locked alongside the shoreline of a vast lake and was greater than 10,000 years old. While this lake had no formally recognized name, for the sake of discussion, we're going to call it the Lake of Ib, and according to Lovecraft in The Doom That Came to Sarnath, the Lake of Ib was a vast, still lake that is fed by no stream, and out of which no stream flows. Yeah, I know, right? Super creepy. Not a whole lot is known about the being of Ib, and one of the reasons for this is because they were very old as a species and predated humans, like, a lot of the stuff in Lovecraftian horror. These guys were described as having bulging eyes, pouting, flabby lips, and curious ears, and they were also without voice. They were also known to have a thin, greenish skin and worship Bokrug, the great water lizard, who actually does appear in Bestiary 4 as something you can kill, and really I think he's one of the most powerful monsters in Pathfinder in terms of all the things he can do in combat. Definitely had a lot of fun running him in an encounter. Hopefully we get to talk about him on Wednesday afternoon worship super soon, but in Pathfinder, the beings of Ib exist as living examples of a time-forgotten race that might or might not, as the dude who requested this so blatantly pointed out, a rogue spellcaster might have just, reanimated for funsies. To find this race in the back of Dreams of the Yellow King, we must first look at the Ib shade at the very back of its entry. That's where the being of Ib lies. In Pathfinder, they were all slaughtered long time ago by humans that found them disturbing looking. How nice of them. 1,000 years later, the ghosts of the slaughtered race rose from the waters of the lake and descended upon the human city of Sarnath, bringing with them a terrible doom that brought death to all and wiped the metropolis of Sarnath from existence. Now, beings of Ib are definitely spooky creatures out of eldritch horror, so it's kind of hard to say where anything goes here. I'm not even gonna begin to put a maximum age on one of these guys because, creepy Cthulhu monster, I'll leave that one up to you. But since they're essentially just bigger frogs, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Gripply's height and weight, and we're gonna treat it as if someone had cast Enlarge Person on the Gripply. And hey, by the way, if you don't happen to know what a Gripply is, follow this card right up here, we'll tell you all about them. So it might be a bit of a stretch to say that there are two genders amongst the beings of Ib. I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this one and say that there are, and that's how they reproduced and made more of them. And even if we were to take the Gripply's random height and weight and make it as if Enlarged Person had hit, it would still fall in the ranks of small, so I'm just going to say that the male Gripply lands somewhere between 4 feet and 5 feet tall and weighs somewhere between 100 and 150 pounds, with females coming in slightly shorter at the upper reaches of 3 feet, technically small, to the upper reaches of 4 feet, weighing about 20 pounds less. Now, down to the stats. A being of Ib receives a -4 to its strength and a -2 to its constitution, but a +4 to its wisdom score. These guys are frail and weak, yet they are profoundly faithful and devoted. They're aquatic, which means they can move in water without attempting swim checks, and they can breathe in water. They always treat swim as a class skill, but they're also amphibious, which means they can survive indefinitely on the land. Beings of Ib have dark vision out to 60 feet and low light vision. They are medium aberrations with the aquatic subtype, with a base speed of 20 feet, but a base swim speed of 30 feet. In addition, the being of Ib is amorphous. Though, of course, their body is solid and it can't adjust its shape, its slimy skin and internal structures, both skeletons and organs alike, are strangely composed of the same alien matter. This lack of any real single weak point means that the being of Ib is immune to precision damage, thanks sneak attacks, and crits. Lastly, the being of Ib does not have a voice. This means they cannot speak or take any verbal actions. A being of Ib that gains a level in a spellcasting class automatically replaces any verbal components required by its spells with thought components, a la the psychic spellcaster. Normally we don't point out languages on this series because I think that a race should be able to learn whatever language it wants based on, how that particular member of that race was raised, but a being of Ib cannot speak. However, that does not stop it from being 100% capable of learning and understanding languages. Its own language, Ib, is hand gestures and facial expressions, so, sign language right here, that's your guy. Now, if I were to play this in Pathfinder 1st Edition, I think we'd have to definitely, break out the strange eons, break out the aberrations, break out the Cthulhus. Most of those monsters that we read about in H.P. Lovecraft do in fact exist in Pathfinder, which is, one of the reasons I like Pathfinder so much. I definitely, once upon a time, ran a campaign where the Great Old Ones were the big bads, and right when we got to the end, the 6th bestiary dropped in. Oh, here's 5 more the party has to fight. Okay, sure, here we go. And that's definitely 100% the game that this guy is made for. So I'm probably leaving this one in my back pocket, unless we're going to be fighting some Eldritch Horror monsters just to make sure I fit. But that said, any aquatic game definitely likes this guy because he can breathe underwater. In addition, in a game that might take place somewhere in the Mwangi Expanse or a jungle-type setting where Gripply might live, this thing could reasonably hide itself amongst their surroundings and pose as a Gripply with disguise checks. So a jungle-themed intrigue game definitely has Being of Ib written all over it. If nothing else, you could pretend to be a boggart and scare away the local tribesmen. Just don't try to croak because you can't. Well, that's ventriloquism. I guess that's what that spell's for. If I had a player who wanted to play one of these, first I'd be surprised because up until 4 months ago, man, this channel's existed for a while. When this race was suggested to me, I didn't know it existed, but yeah, no, I don't need a reason to break out the Eldritch Horror right there. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what that looks like. That's what we're doing. But what do you guys think about the Being of Ib? Would you play one? Did you know this race existed before this video? Because truly, I didn't. And do you think we're going to see that creepy Eldritch Horror anywhere in Pathfinder 2nd Edition other than, Doomsday Dawn? But that's a spoiler. Anywho, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. The next episode of the Forgotten Race Review, where we're going to do a little bit of homebrew, and we're going to cover the Serpent Folk, drops next Monday.